This is the Marathon Killer, or at least that's what they're calling it. If Marathon doesn't arrive dead on arrival, then Arc Raiders will sure to do the job. We have an article here from Paul Tassi titled, "Yes, Arc Raiders makes Marathon look bad." If you don't know what Arc Raiders is, it's another extraction shooter that just so happened to drop an alpha at the exact same time as Marathon. But unlike Marathon, it's not receiving all the backlash and all the criticism from the gaming community. Instead, Arc Raiders complements the extraction shooter genre so well that, by surprise, gamers love it. Gamers are really enjoying this. As you can see here, it's got emotes. It's a whole different, scheme of how they're doing this. And we're going to talk a little about Paul Tassi's article here and a little bit about Arc Raiders, how it is apparently the Marathon Killer, right? So it's an unproven trend at this point, but the new race towards live multiplayer games appears to be the genre of extraction shooters, which is definitely true because we just recently heard, as a side note, that Titanfall 3 was aimed to be an extraction shooter with I think 10 months of development, and that was just recently canceled. So there's just so much competition right now for that particular genre. And this week brought an unusual situation with two upcoming 2025 extraction games, both running closed alphas and so far eliciting different reactions. Oh yes, different is an understatement. Those two games, as you can guess, are Bungie's Marathon and Embark's Studios' Arc Raiders. Both entries in the extraction genre that are allegedly being released in 2025. Marathon's date is, of course, September 23, but as of now, Arc does not have a date. Imagine if Arc decided to launch 1 week before Marathon or on the same date as Marathon. It's probably unlikely because, again, this is the alpha, and usually when games launch an alpha, it's kind of maybe a little bit less than a year later. So I imagine that they're maybe shooting for a Christmas release, Arc Raiders is, which, if that is the case, that gives Marathon a chance for people to maybe buy it and play it. But overall, as it stands right now, people are much more excited for this extraction shooter than they are for Marathon. There's no getting around it. The reaction to Marathon's alpha has mostly been mixed to underwhelming. The initial reaction to Arc Raiders alpha has visibly skewed more positive. So what's going on? Simply put, Arc Raiders is a much more traditional extraction shooter in the vein of Tarkov, which is, of course, the king of this genre. Tarkov is to extraction shooters what Destiny 2 is to looter shooters, but at least somewhat more accessible and better looking given it's a 2025 release. It's a Fallout-esque concept of scavenging a ruined wasteland populated by hostile robots and other players. At its core, you skulk around, harvest materials and weapons, and attempt to extract by going down, not up, which is a cool little spin on things in general. I mean, I think that the cosmetic is cool. Wandering around a wasteland, scavenging is, of course, this is quintessential extraction shooter vibes, right? That's what you do. You're going around scavenging so that way you can gear up a little bit. And then when you do run into an enemy team, you hopefully have good enough guns and armor to be able to take them out. Either avoiding or killing enemies along the way, or being killed, of course. So that's that for Arc. And then it's got all the traditional extraction-y things, custom characters, which haven't exactly seen just yet for Marathon, crafting, proximity chat, which has been a big ask, and Marathon has even said themselves that they were working on it or thinking about it, but they're not going to get it off before launch. A home base of sorts, so maybe like a tower, maybe a social space, and it just plays much more like a traditional extraction shooter with its grounded combat, which I think is a pretty smart approach. You enter this space where there are a lot of other people who've been playing extraction shooters for years, maybe a fatigued audience, for example, and you offer them something new, a new twist on their beloved genre. And this is a good strategy, in my opinion. And it's some great visuals and truly fantastic sound design, and it's not a mystery why this positive reception is occurring. Marathon has ditched a lot of this in an attempt to be unique, but in many ways that doesn't feel like it's the case. Taking out hardcore elements extraction players want, while also perhaps not being all that accessible to the wider player base they want to attract. The opposite is true here. Hero characters, not custom ones, no proximity chat, no crafting, and importantly, no solos at launch. That's Marathon, which is something Arc Raiders does have. It has all of those things, right? Community conversations with Bungie are not terribly promising, saying they'll get around to things like proximity chat and solos eventually, but not for launch, as neither are urgent priority according to them. They should be, though. They should be. If the people who play these genre of games say this is an urgent priority, you should probably listen to them. You should probably listen to the community. The end result here is an odd mix of traditional extraction elements, slow moving looting, and stamina roadblocks. You have heat in Marathon, you can't even infinitely sprint, which a lot of people have criticized. But paired with often Apex-like firefights with less mobility, it often pairs uncomfortably. That is a true criticism of Marathon. It's a little bit disjointed. Has like an Apex feel to it, but with being slowed down like a freaking Apex, but you have fucking weighted a vest on or something. The Marathon Alpha feels less polished and more feather light. All the claims of it's early, it's a closed alpha don't exactly match up with the fact that Arc is also doing a closed alpha, which seems much more substantive and finished, and is likely to be out a good bit after Marathon, if not pushed to 2026. But Marathon launches in 6 months, I think 5 months. I think Marathon launches in September, and it's May right now. That's technically like 4 months and some change. The expectations are also not comparable. Marathon has been in development for 6 years, and this will be Sony's biggest upcoming live service game after a string of cancellations and failures. And of course, its famed shooter maker, Bungie's new IP after massive hits Halo and Destiny spanning 20 plus years. Arc's Embark has the same amount of devs in the entire studio as are working on Marathon at Bungie, around 300. So it's got equal dev sizes, equal studio sizes. I love the emotes in this, by the way. Like, you gotta have some emotes in your game just to have some fun. I didn't see any emoting in Marathon. I could be wrong, maybe there was, but I saw nothing of the sort. But a portion of these are managing the finals. I'm sure they'll include it, of course. You know, we're talking about paid cosmetics, right? But a portion of those are managing the finals, the studio's other multiplayer game that may not be the talk of the town these days, but boasts a consistent player count, which many may not realize. Gotcha? The reception here has been almost night and day. There's no telling if Arc will for sure be a hit or if Marathon will for sure be a failure. It's not that simple. But observing how this has gone, it's impossible not to compare the two and say this has been a much better week for Arc. So how much better of a week? Let's look at some actual data here, if we will, right? I like to, support claims with some numbers. So let's look at the categories on Twitch right now. Arc Raiders has 73,000 viewers. It has been out for, I think, a few days now even. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's in the top 10 on Twitch most viewed games. Now Marathon, by comparison, if you saw our last video, it ain't doing too hot. We got to scroll pretty far down here, right? Literally, music is above that. We got Schedule 1 here, well above it. We got to scroll even further. We got the Virtual Casino. This game, it's ridiculous. All right, way down here, we got Destiny 2 here. All right, let's go. Destiny's still hanging in there, even this late into a season. And lo and behold, we got Marathon down here with 2,000 viewers. 2,000 people watching Marathon. So in terms of viewer interest alone, obviously significantly less than Arc Raiders. 2,000 to 73,000. That's not a good look, all right? Bungie's going to really have to have a big wake-up call with what they want to do with Marathon. I'm talking potential delays, potential re-envisioning of the entire game's premise. If not that, then they need to, whatever cards they're holding up their sleeve that they might be having, right? People say, oh, well, the game, there's more to this game. Maybe you haven't seen the PvE yet. You haven't seen the raid-like encounters in this game, etc., right? You better stop holding those cards up your sleeve. That's all I'm saying. You better stop holding those cards up your sleeve. You better start playing those cards immediately. Because right now, everyone is laughing at Marathon, and they're saying that this game is going to be dead on arrival. And I hope that's not the case. I don't want that to be the case. But that's where it's at right now. Even Arc Raiders here, which apparently is the marathon killer. The game hasn't even come out yet, and it already has a game hunting it down. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed, smash the like button, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Later.